U.S. Marines are now on the ground in Syria. The Pentagon confirming late this week that several hundred Marines have been deployed just outside the northern city of Raqqa, where they're going to support Syrian forces as they try to retake that ISIS stronghold. This is 2,500 U.S. troops are reportedly being sent to Kuwait to serve as backup for coalition forces who are fighting the Islamic State in Iraq and Syria. Retired four-star Army General Jack Keane is the chair of the Institute for the Study of War and a Fox News military analyst. General Keane, first of all, what is our mission there, our military mission?
Well, first of all, the president assigned a mission to the Pentagon, to Secretary Mattis, and that is to defeat ISIS and destroy it. And that means not just taking the territory back that ISIS has claimed in Iraq, which is going to be completed in the next few months, and in Syria, essentially around Raqqa, but also to take their finances away, to take their support system away, to take their virtual caliphate, their internet operations away, to undermine their ideology, and to help defeat them in the 30-plus countries they moved into. So this, David, this is the first time since ISIS invaded Iraq that the Pentagon has ever been asked to put together a campaign plan to defeat ISIS.
But, you know, there are a lot of families out there, including mine, wondering about how many Marines are going to be there eventually, going to be deployed there. If we succeed in kicking ISIS out of this town, Raqqa, their stronghold, do we occupy? Does that increase our commitment there or what?
Well, that's a great question. And what is the end state, certainly? We have the capability to defeat any enemy that's holding on to territory, certainly. That means the United States of America and the United States military. We'll do that in conjunction with our allies on the ground there, to be sure. But the United States is not going to occupy portions of Syria. We may maintain a base there, but we need Syrian Arabs to occupy their own territory. And that is part of the challenge that we're facing here.
Yeah, well, and that gets us to the question of who is our ally there. I mean, no matter who we choose, we're going to tick off somebody else. If we ally with the Kurds, and they're good fighters, we all know that, that's going to mess up the Turks. The Turks hate the Kurds because they're historical enemies. If we go with the Russians and the Syrians, a lot of people here aren't going to like that in Congress. And if we go with the Sunni rebels that the Russians have been attacking, that puts us in danger of hitting the Russians. So our alliance is a very tricky thing here.
Yeah, well, you probably put your finger on the biggest challenge we're facing. The military campaign is one thing, and we certainly have, as I mentioned, the capability to deal with that. The political end state, which is what you're describing, is quite another thing. It is the most challenging aspect of all of this. We are currently aligned with the Syrian Kurds, the so-called YPG. The reality is the YPG is affiliated with other Kurds who are trying to overthrow the Turkish government. So Turkey has been attacking the very forces that our special operation forces are aiding and abetting.
Wow.
That is how complicated this is. The other thing is that if we use the Syrian Kurds to take over Raqqa, Raqqa is actually Arab territory, and the people there do not want any part of the Kurds occupying their territory. So we have to, the United States is going to have to be very careful as we deal not just with the military campaign, but how we shape the political end state. And we cannot ignore our allies here. We cannot ignore the Sunni Arabs in the region, and we certainly cannot ignore Turkey either.
Yeah.
We should not, and I say again, not work with the Russians to deal with Syria.
Okay, so that's what we don't do. I don't mean to put you on the spot, General, but what should we do? Who do you think we should be in alliance with?
I think we should work with the Turks and the Sunni Arabs in the region, and also some of our own forces, take Raqqa down, leave the Sunni Arabs in the region to occupy, pull ourselves out and pull the Turks out. I think that's the best solution.
And if I would think of a worst-case scenario, if you do that alliance as you suggest, perhaps while the Russians are on some operation trying to hit our Sunni allies, we might inadvertently hit the Russians. I mean, that could be a very dangerous situation, right?
We know where they are and what they're doing, and we can deconflict our operations from them. They don't want to be in any conflict with us, and we don't want to be in conflict with them. So we can avoid it.
And, General, it sounds in the end like you do have confidence in the current military apparatus and their ability to deal with this.
Yeah, absolutely. They after the president-elect November the 8th, they recognized that there was going to be a new strategy. They began working on it then. They put 2 months of effort into it. The chairman and the Joint Chiefs, I'm talking about the 4 service chiefs and the chairman themselves, working with their staff. They've got this. They put a tremendous effort into it. The president's been briefed on multiple options. He's going to select what he wants to do. He wants to be decisive. He wants this to have a sense of urgency, and he wants it to end.
Wow. General Jack Keane, quite a dilemma, but it sounds like we got it in hand. Appreciate it, General. Thank you.
Yeah, good talking to you, Dave.
Great talking to you.